Hi. It's always too strong. Hi. Hi. I'm Alexi Pukanikin, and we're balling today, tomorrow, and most definitely yesterday. At what cost? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Ballin at What Cost. My name is Fields. Justin Fields. That's what's happening in the NFL world right now. Finally, my boy. Before we get all the way into that, though, into the deeper topics, new setup here. LED lights. I had ordered these LED lights through my lovely mom. Unfortunately, details were not reviewed before purchase. So these are like industrial type of LED lights that you cannot put just tape up on the wall, because the original plan was I moved all my furniture around just so we can get this set up, like or at least the camera position this way, because the windows were a big pain in the ass. But anyways, now the problem is we could have had like a LED all around this, and then this whole place would have been lit up nice. This is the improv that we've gone with today. I mean, we have the LED lights are in our possession. So even though they aren't the most ideal LED lights, we got to use them. So, did a little rapidy rap. I had an early morning today. Had one filter coffee and a triple espresso cappuccino. That's still a little bit left. Had to pick it up from the good old workplace. Put that right there. That's a little plug there. I don't know if I'm just going to have legal problems later, but thank you for the ladies that were working there, my co-workers, Daimi and Ellen. They hooked it up with a cappuccino. And it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful week. We were talking about Fields. We were talking about my boy Justin. And I think it is important. I think we do have to put this kind of emphasis on a player on such a big platform. The caliber of this player is still a big question. If you don't know who Justin Fields is, he's the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears. Now, his rookie season was last season, and there is definitely a little zing and a little zang to his game. He definitely ain't one of these regular type of quarterbacks. He definitely has a certain style to his game, or a style to his position, that catches your eye a little bit. You're like, okay, this is interesting. And the fact that at least he started off his career in Chicago, it's that's definitely an organization that is quite a lot in the limelight, and unfortunately not in the most positive connotation most of the time. So, Justin Fields going there, Windy City, and not being able to yield the results that everybody, all the Chicagoans, the Beaners. Wait, what? I'm just fucking kidding. I mean the Bean. You guys are into the Bean as the sculpture. I wasn't supposed to say it. No, I didn't know. I wasn't saying racial slur towards Mexicans. That's not what I was going with. I'm saying there's a lot of pressure. And on top of the fact that the Bears haven't been winning, they're not a football organization that, just wins and wins and wins and wins. like compared to the 49ers. So Justin Fields coming in, trying his best while he is like talented, at least from his college career and or leading up to the NFL. He's been playing pretty spectacular, but everybody knows it's a whole different game when you go pro, right? So, hey, what happened last week in Week 5? They went up against Commanders as underdogs, and hey, they got it done, and in relatively convincing fashion. Bears beat the Commanders 40-20 in Week 5, and hey, 4 touchdowns for Justin Fields, not bad at all. DJ Moore, he's got something brewing. They got something brewing in Chicago, that's for sure. They got it done, man. They got their first win of the season. Let's go. Fuck it. That's a big win for Chicago right there. I think Justin Fields is finally showing that if on game day things click, he can do amazing things. But I just feel like right now with their team, I mean, honestly, a little bit structure with the staff and just all the behind the scenes moving parts. I don't know. I just feel like the Bears are still in a position where it's difficult to piece the puzzles together for game day so you could get a win, right? And Justin Fields is trying his best. I mean, there were a couple games earlier this season so far where, the performance wasn't on par, but I really do think, at least football, it's such a kind of momentum kind of game. If something's working, you kind of stick with the thing that's working, at least on game day, and you just make the most out of it. If you don't, you don't. It's really hard to recover. It's really, really hard to recover. I mean, I think the only reason why comebacks are possible in the NFL, it's like if you think this one thing is going to work, let's just say a defensive tactic or an offensive tactic. If you know this is going to work, but, it's somehow you just haven't been able to pull it off, and then all of a sudden it just, all right, and then the flow is. So that's why comebacks are still possible, because it is so momentum based. It's like at one point things just start clicking, and then you kind of feel unstoppable, and then you kind of aren't. So, but good on the Chicago Bears. You went into Week 5, and then you finally got the W. You didn't go all the way to 0-5, which is the topic of the next game that I'm going to cover. The Detroit Lions go against the Panthers in Week 5. And the Lions end up beating the Panthers 42-24. Considering how this season has gone so far, this is not like a humongous ass whooping, right? Especially when it is generally a high-scoring game. Panthers scored 24 points. And I think this is what we got to talk about, because, we're going up to Week 6 now of the NFL regular season. And that's just about like 1/3 of the regular season. And at this point, Panthers are 0-5, and they're the only team now that are 0-5 without a win. And I just want to go through this. I just want to go through this thing, check it out a little bit. So, if we look at the schedule, right? Okay, I'll mention it. Preseason games that the Panthers had, they go against the Jets, the Giants, and then the Lions, right? They kind of got destroyed by the Jets. Okay, whatever. They were just playing really good defense. I think I remember that preseason game. I think the Jets were just playing really, really good defensive strategies and tactics. So they got it done. Giants, they lost to the Giants 19-21. They lost to the Lions 17-26. That's no, okay, that's a 2-score game. Okay, so then you go into the regular season, right? Week 1 they go against the Falcons. They lose 10-24. That one was a little bit that was kind of tough, right? Kind of no explanations for that. But then after that, week 2, they go against the Saints. Saints are very decent. People, but I do. I hold the Saints at pretty high regard. I think they're really strong defensively, and offensively they're surprisingly they're at least in my opinion they're exceeding my expectations. So they lose to the Saints in week 2 by a field goal. They lost 17-20. Then you go to week 3, they go against the Seahawks, and Seahawks played offensively really, really well that game, and they lose by 10 points. They lost 27-37. Week 4, they go against the Vikings. That one is a little iffy because how do you lose by... Okay, so they lost to Vikings 13-21, right? And then now they lost to the Lions 24-42. It's not... They're not... They're doing something. They're doing something, dude. Like, it'd be... Like, I do think the Panthers, at least, they've shown much more potential than Giants, for example. But then Giants are still... but they were okay last year. They have last year's Coach of the Year. Daniel Jones just got signed. They still, like, people kind of still expect Giants to... They're like, yeah, and they're just having a rough time, But people would be, like, completely shitting on the Panthers, which just does not make sense because I really think the Panthers, they've just had a bit of bad luck. They've had a bit of bad luck because who's to say that there isn't just like one freakish fumble some game or something like that, or interception, something crazy like that, and then boom, they have a win, right? So I honestly think the more disappointing, or let's just say like I have empathy for them, is the fact that, I really, really, really do think that I am just going through it a little bit because it's rough to see. It's rough to see because people don't expect much from the Panthers, so they're 0-5 and nobody's talking about it, right? When I realistically think if the games could have gone their way a little bit, they could be like 2-3 right now. Right, and then they wouldn't be just neglected, right? But then there are teams like, say, the Vikings and the Giants that were really, really good last season, and then now they're struggling a lot, and they still have like the same pieces. So I feel like those, those two categories, they're weak teams, but the way you look at the teams, it has to be from a different perspective. Bryce Young, he's a rookie too, rookie quarterback trying to piece the puzzles together for the Panthers. It ain't the easiest. It really isn't. But I have faith. Their schedule, their upcoming schedule looks a little bit sketchy because they're going against Miami Dolphins next week, and Jesus Christ, I don't even want to... that's going to hurt. And then they have a bye week. And then after that, in week 8, they go against the Texans. Now, that is fine. Like, let's just say they'll go 1-6. Right. I really do think the Texans, they have a bye week, right, after getting their ass. I'm just predicting. Please prove me wrong, but I'm just saying Dolphins are really good. Mike McDaniels, we've been through this before. They look pretty damn unstoppable. So you get your ass kicked a little bit next week or this upcoming week by the Dolphins. We're still talking Panthers. And then you take that L, and then now you've taken 6 L's in a row, and then you finally get the bye week, right? So you have a bit more time to recover, more time to put a proper, thorough game plan together against the Texans, which you know isn't one of those elite teams right now in the NFL. So get the preparation done, do your homework, and I really do think, hopefully, by week 8 of the NFL, Panthers will get a dub on their scoreboard. So I just wanted to talk about that. I feel like it's pretty important. I haven't talked about the Panthers yet at all this season, so I feel like I had to give it out there because, to be honest, scoring 24 against like Lions when they're doing really well is not that bad, man. Like, the Lions are really good, and you scored 24 points on them. So yes, it was a loss at the end of regulation, but I really do feel like Panthers are slowly getting better, and that's the big point of all this. This is the big point of sports. You always want to be improving. You always want to be getting better. Lastly, we'll go from one spectrum of the NFL teams to the other spectrum. The untouchable top dogs. Eagles 5-0, 49ers 5-0. These two are the top dogs right now. These two, and you know, like we hold up a second here, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta pull some stuff up right now. The Eagles, they went to the Super Bowl last year, right? Lost to Patrick Mahomes. What are you gonna do? If Andy Reid's doing well, feeling good, got the cheeseburgers waiting for him, they're pretty unbeatable. But Jalen Hurts, the Eagles, they're one of the teams. Why do I feel like it's almost like a rarity that they did really fucking well last season, right? And then they're still doing well this season, or if not better. I feel like, you know, like I mentioned, Giants, Vikings, not a hell of a lot has changed, and still you're struggling more. So that in that case, Eagles are really, really impressing me. And same thing for the 49ers. 49ers had a rough season last year. They still did really well, but I feel like there was just so much they had to adapt to. So it just, at the end of the day, the end result was just not as complete as it could have been. That was just a holy hell. That was so it was Trey Lance got the starting quarterback position. Bam, gets instantly injured. And then Jimmy G comes in, and all Jimmy G does is hand the ball over to Christian McCaffrey or Deebo Samuel. And then finally Brock Purdy comes in, and Brock Purdy is still on a winning streak of, 15-0, 16-0 as the starting quarterback in the NFL. That's kind of fucking crazy, yo. This guy's kind of... And then, you're like, oh my God, but 49ers have the best defense in the league. And, you know, they have Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Kittle's there, all that. But it's just like, dude, the quarterback's still... He's still the captain of the offense. You know, he's still the main guy who decides on how we score points. And he's been doing pretty freaking well. Now, the big conundrum in all this is the fact that they're both in the NFC. So this is going to be the battle of the NFC top dog. If anything, this will be the battle of who goes to the Super Bowl from the NFC. Because right now, realistically looking at the rest of the NFC, I really do think it's either 49ers or the Eagles that are going to go to the Super Bowl from the NFC. And right now, if we were to compare the two, let's just go through their schedule, right? This is the best way to go through the week 1 for the 49ers. Let's go through week 1 first. They go against the Steelers, win 30-7. Week 2, they go against the Rams. They win 30-23. Week 3, they go against the Giants, 30-12. Wait, that's actually weird. I didn't realize that, but they won the first 3 games of their season by scoring 30 points. Interesting. Week 4, they go against the Cardinals. They won 35-16, a little bit more dominant fashion. And then last week, they go up against, I'd say, their biggest challenge of the season so far, because you look at Steelers, Rams, Giants, and Cardinals. They're definitely not like top, and especially when Cowboys is pretty much the second seed in the NFC East with the Eagles. Cowboys struggling a little bit more than everybody was expecting. However, they're doing a hell of a lot better than I was expecting. So tip the Cowboys. But anyways, going into last week, the 49ers facing off the Dallas Cowboys, it was for the first time from the public eye, everyone's like, okay, now you got a real challenge. Like 49ers, now you got a real challenge. Let's see what you can do. Bam. They win last week 42-10 against the Cowboys. So, I don't know, man. I think Brock Purdy is pretty good at his job. I think he's pretty damn good at his job, man. I think this guy comes in prepared. And then he knows the weapons that he has to support him, and then he just gets it done. I don't think he's like a guy who overcomplicates things. I don't think, and in that sense, I think it's very, very, like, he seems like an athlete, more than there to get the attention or be in the limelight. He's there to do his job. So far, the 49ers, they look pretty damn unstoppable. Now, if we would compare that to the Eagles, they have gone against, here we go, week 1, they go against Patriots. They win by 25-20. Week 2, they go against the Vikings, 34-28. Hold up, let me go. All right, and then week 3, they go against the Buccaneers. They beat them 25-11. Week 4, they go against the Commanders. They actually end up going to overtime, so got a little sketchy there, but they ended up pulling off the win, 34-31. And then last week, they go up against the Rams, and it was 23-14. Now, the way that it looks so far, I think the 49ers have the edge. And the edge that right now is just how dominant the defense is. The 49ers defense is fucking scary. Like, if you're any offense and then you're like, for example, the clip of oh Jesus, who the did oh my God. Yeah. When the Eagles played the Giants in week 3, like, oh my God, Daniel Jones was freaking out about the Eagles defense. And that's just the Eagles defense. So, oh, sorry. 49ers. What the am I talking about? Yeah, the 49ers, they went against the Giants in week 3, and when there's a literal clip of Daniel Jones trying to, like, a close up zoom in on Daniel Jones before the snap, and he's trying to read the defense, and he's just like, his eyes are just going everywhere, and he's like confused and shit and overwhelmed, and he's like, oh god, that's what it looked like. And I think that's what every quarterback experiences, and when they're going against the 49ers defense, it's just like, that's just freaking scary. That's too much pressure. And of course, quarterbacks are made to deal with that kind of pressure. But, dude, I don't know. I don't know. When Nick Bosa is trying to get at you, it's a different kind of fucking game, man. So, these two, they've just really been killing it. But, like, if we're supposed to look into the future, right? Week 6, 49ers go up against the Browns. Then the Vikings, Bengals, Jacksonville Jaguars, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's maybe like, okay, for 49ers, their next like week matchup, I'd say, is maybe week 7. They go against the Vikings, but I still think Vikings have a little bit of potential there to kind of prove that we didn't fall off that hard. And if we skip past that, I think the next easy matchup for the 49ers is week 15, which is against the Arizona Cardinals. But up until that point, they're going against, like, they go against the Buccaneers, and then they got the Jaguars, and they got to go against Seahawks twice. And Seahawks are definitely made a lot of improvements. Their defense is getting much better, and offense is better as well. So that's how the 49ers schedule is looking like. And then for the Philly Eagles, they go up against the Jets. They have, let's just see here, bam, bam, bam. They also have a tough matchup ahead of them. I think maybe a week 8 matchup with the Commanders might be relatively easy, but for the next 2 weeks, they go Jets, and then Dolphins, and then they got Cowboys, and then blah, 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 blah. And then only week 16, they go against the Giants, and then Cardinals, and then Giants again. So from now on, for both of the teams, it's more challenging matchups. It ain't going to be the cakewalk anymore. I think there has been a little bit of like, oh, okay, these aren't the strongest teams or the best opponents that we could be going up against. So the 5-0 is, let's just say, it's not the most surprising thing for both the teams. However, after the few weeks that have, like, let's just say after like week 9, like, after week 9, if both teams are still without a loss, then I'm very intrigued. I'm very, very intrigued, because then at that point, I also do think that the Super Bowl, whoever is going to be the Super Bowl contender, or the one that makes the Super Bowl for the NFC, it's going to be pretty clear. I'll say this: whoever takes the first loss out of 49ers or Eagles is going to be the one who actually makes the Super Bowl. That's my prediction. That's my prediction right there, because you got to fuck up a little bit to get stronger. But that's the vibe of the top dogs. And they do go head-to-head at one point. Week 13. So I'm looking forward to week 13. Let's just say that. 49ers, Eagles, unstoppable. But let's go into the next week. What is going to happen? I don't know. But I can give you not a smart guess, but a freaking Ballin guess. Let's just say that. Seahawks versus Bengals. This one I'm damn excited about. Because both teams are okay. Start of the season, I would have thought, I thought the Bengals were gonna fucking just win the Super Bowl. I said that, by the way. I really did say that the Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl this year, but Jesus. Right now, it's not looking the brightest, but, hey, last week, Bengals took the win. Thank God. Thank goodness. The Bengals are expected to make the playoffs. With Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, and all those guys. They're expected to, and they really do have, in terms of offensive core, I think they have the best energy or chemistry, if you will. I really do think they're a tight-knit group that's ready to give it their all. But right now, it's just not clicking. Right now, I think it kind of half circles back to the same thing of the O-line, but right now I feel like there is just something. Maybe it has to do with the coaches or the coordinators, but at least offensively, man, the Bengals are just kind of like fighting tooth and nail just to scrape out a win, and so far they're 2-3. And the Seahawks, they're doing definitely much better. The Seahawks, they've made improvements. They played really decent last year. Was it that they lost in the wild card round? But with Geno Smith first season as the starting quarterback, I think they did really well. I think they did really well last season, and I am convinced they're doing even better this season. And especially, you got to consider this matchup. Seahawks, they had a bye week last week. So they're well rested, at least going into this matchup. Bengals, however, they took a win last week, so that's at least not new for them. But they've taken 3 losses and two wins, so losing is a little bit. I don't know. Okay, but anyways, they go against the Cardinals. They finally put some proper points up the board. Man, I really do think the defense is the thing that's struggling with the Bengals right now. Also, because you can't let teams score that much sometimes. However, this matchup just really intrigues me because it really gives you a picture on what the teams are like individually. And the fact that oh my God, they just both have such good potential. At least offensively, man, you give Burrow to Chase or Geno Smith to Metcalf or Lockett, it's just it sounds like an exciting freaking game. I don't know. There's something about Joe Burrow and Geno Smith. They both play with such fucking confidence, right? Tall ass dudes, I feel like they're very, very composed and shit. They control their emotions fucking very maturely. So this matchup just intrigues the hell out of me, man. And it's on Sunday, early slot game. I cannot complain. I think if I were to predict it, okay, this is where I'm going to contradict myself a little bit, but who the gives a shit? But I think the Seahawks are going to take this one because I think the Seahawks are a team that benefits a little bit more from taking an extra week off. I think Pete Carroll is relentless when it comes to preparation. So I do think they've just done that. They've taken that extra time and really sufficiently, got results out of it, and they can't wait to put it out there on the field. I think the Bengals, yeah, they're finally, they finally took a win last week and must feel good. I'm sure they're going to try to keep the momentum going. However, something about the fact that Seahawks kind of got that rest week already, and I almost feel like the sooner you get a bye week, the more beneficial it is, because you just get that extra bit of time where, like, not only can the players improve, but also like the behind the scenes, all the strategies, all the tactics, you can just look them through a little bit more, right? And the earlier it is, I think the more you can kind of attack the big kind of problems that you have and try to find some solution and adapt. So, but I will say this though, if the Bengals beat the Seahawks in week 6 of the NFL, then I think the Bengals have still more than enough potential to make the playoffs, postseason, wild card, anything like that. I really don't think. I know the Bengals, they started off slow, but you cannot doubt them because they did the same thing last season. They started off super slow. Their offensive line was horrendous. They couldn't protect Joe Burrow at all. And then now we're at a point where, and then last season they ended up going, deep into the playoffs. So going into week 6, who wins? My bet's on Seahawks, but very interesting. I'll be tuning in for the whole entire game. Next up, again, a little bit like one category of NFL teams this season to another category of NFL teams. Not trying to insinuate anything negative, but this is just reality here. The Raiders go against the New England Patriots. And this one's just like, first of all, I never expected Patriots to struggle this much. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be entirely honest with you, because it's a cheesy kind of headline or topic to talk about, but the Patriots, they shouldn't be struggling this much if Bill Belichick's there. And Bill Belichick is still there. Brain's still working fine. It's just the only thing that's changed is there's no Tom Brady. And I know it's not, Alexa, you're being ignorant. Of course, a lot of things change. I mean, of course, Tom Brady's not there, but, other players aren't there. But I don't know, man. If Bill Belichick is that GOAT head coach that I consider him to be, I don't think this is his. He's not. I don't know what Billy Boy is doing. He's 1-4 right now with the Patriots. And if you blame Mac Jones for, not being able to perform that well, just go with some other quarterback. I don't think there is this crazy potential in Mac Jones, or even if there is, I really think that if they were to make like a smart quarterback trade, I don't think it's gonna hurt him. I don't think it's gonna hurt him. You're 1-4 right now. How much more can it hurt realistically? So you might as well try to get a few more dubs out of this than sticking with the same thing and then trying to kind of go week to week and not thinking bigger picture. Because right now I don't think they're thinking bigger picture. They're kind of just like, all right, let's just go in week to week. Bam, 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 kind of deal with this, see if the game plan works, whatever. And the Raiders, I want to just say the Raiders are also really interesting for me this season because, Derek Carr was out of there. And I actually never had this perspective until my fantasy league boys brought it up for me, but Derek Carr is pretty damn underrated. Like, he's much more talented than, people think he is. He has just happened to be in not like the most elite teams, so he's always kind of had to start off from the back foot. The Raiders, they went against the Packers last week, and they got the dub over the Packers. Packers have a pretty good defense and struggling a little bit more on the offense, but let's just pull out the freaking, like, Jimmy G ain't doing bad. Jimmy G ain't doing bad at all. Josh Jacobs is definitely a really, really talented, I would say elite running back right now. And they still got Devontae Adams. I don't know what's going on there, though, because I really do think it's a bit of a bad quarterback to wide receiver matchup, considering Jimmy G has been historically known for not really wanting to throw the ball deep, and you have Devontae Adams, who's the definition of, being able to catch it deep. So it's kind of like this weird thing where they could, if their offensive coordinator, offensive coach were to kind of like take a different perspective, I think this could be a pretty damn strong team. I don't think there's anything wrong with Jimmy for not wanting to like throw it deep all the time, or just throwing it in general. However, I feel like he could, he's still a quarterback. He can throw it, right? And I really am convinced Devontae Adams is that talented that he'll find the space, he'll find a slot to be able to catch the ball. So I think they should just take a different perspective, the Raiders. I think just, letting Josh Jacobs run the freaking ball all the time, it could work. But, like, instead of beating the Packers by 4 points, you can be beating really good teams by more than a touchdown. Seriously, I really do think so. I mean, yes, of course, you still got to consider the Raiders' defense. But, dude, you got Devontae Adams, and this kind of sucks just generally because I really want to see, like, if you look at the Packers game, right? Like, Devontae Adams got 4 targets over the whole game. What? What the fuck? Like, come on, guys. It's Devontae Adams. You're paying him a crap ton of money anyway, so you might as well get the most out of him. Anyways, this matchup going against the Patriots into Week 6, it's intriguing because it's gonna show us if Bill Belichick can deal with matchups in what way? Because right now I feel like the offense is just like kind of out of the question. But Bill Belichick has always been known to be more of a defensive, like head coach, right? Like he is the head coach, but he takes more of a defensive kind of perspective on things. So, I mean, okay, if the offense doesn't work, Mac Jones isn't the new Tom Brady, then let's see if Bill Belichick come in, rally up his defensive team, and then maybe they do something against Jimmy G, Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs. I really think that's a possibility. And then also the flip side to it, let's see against the weaker team if they can do something, if the Raiders can do something else other than, run the ball to Josh Jacobs. Let's see if they can find success with, Jimmy G, like, let Devontae Adams run a couple routes, free himself up, and then throw it, man. Throw it down the middle, to the sidelines, fucking to the end zone. Deep, Jimmy. Jimmy boy, I want you to fucking chuck it all the way down. That's how I'm feeling. But anyways, going into week 6, my bet is on, Now that I still do have faith. I think you got to start questioning Bill Belichick a little bit more. Like, okay, was he kind of just blessed that during that era of, always having an extra piece to the overall successful puzzle that they had in the Patriots with Tom Brady as quarterback and all the other moving pieces? Is that Bill Belichick, or can he really still, even in the downest of times, can he still rise up? I really do think that he can. He can. I don't think I don't think the Raiders' offense is the most intimidating, unstoppable thing in the NFL. So going into week 6, let's just say my boy Billy gets it done. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very interesting matchup. That is the Lions versus the Buccaneers. It's going to be a similar take because Lions, they're on a 3-win streak right now. The Lions are feeling hot, and the way they've been winning, pretty damn impressive. Like, they're looking like one of those elite teams, right? The Buccaneers, they're back after a bye week, and you just heard what I had to say, or my take on the benefits of a bye week, especially this early. This is going to be really, really interesting because I really do think the Buccaneers, they're not weak. I don't think they're weak at all. I think they're still pretty well-rounded. The defense is still pretty decent. And then Baker Mayfield is definitely holding his ground as the new starting quarterback for the Buccaneers. Mike Evans is still playing pretty out of his mind, to be honest. But so are the Lions. I really, really fuck with the Lions right now because it's been this steady, linear trajectory of going upwards, right? They took oh my God, last season was the fucking, I remember talking about it last season with the Lions. It was just constant. They should have won it, but they didn't, and then it sucked so much because that they're actually pretty good, but something about fourth quarter, just game deciding things, it just never went their way. But now it's definitely going their way. Dan Campbell really putting it together. Jared Goff, I picked up Montgomery on my freaking fantasy, and he's been fucking killing it, just killing it. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Anyways, this is gonna be an interesting matchup, man. This is one of those that I really, 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 really gotta watch. Lions right now 4-1 in the NFC North, and Buccaneers number 1 in the NFC South. So this might be a divisional round playoff matchup that we're seeing right now in the regular season. So this is going to be really, really, really interesting. It'll show us also on how the Buccaneers kind of play into the NFC South division, because I think if they go 4-1 compared to Falcons and Saints that are 3-2, then it's definitely much more interesting. And so far, the NFC South is pretty competitive, at least within the division. I think Lions have a lot less to worry about within their division. They have Packers at 2nd seed, sitting at 2-3, right? Vikings and Bears 1-4. So we're going to be able to draw some more conclusions, a little bit more for the Buccaneers after week 6. But I think Baker Mayfield's going to get it done, man. I think Baker Mayfield's going to get it done. I think something it's kind of like one momentum compared to the other. I really do think so. I think one's like ready to freaking go, and then the other one's ready to freaking go. But one's like, all right, we've been winning, let's keep it going. And then Buccaneers are like, same here, pretty much. But then now we've rested up a little bit. Now we're ready to go again. But yeah, let's just say that Baker Mayfield with the Buccaneers, I think it's a whole different story. I think that they're really going to get it done in week 6. Now that's all I have to say about the NFL. I've gone a little bit longer than I usually do, but who gives a damn? It's my podcast anyway. I have the same things. We're going to briefly talk about there is UFC Fight Night this weekend, but it's a relatively small card. Barboza's fighting as the main event. That's all cool. But the big news right now in the UFC is the build up to UFC 294. Now talk about flipping the goddamn script, okay? All right, so let's just start. The original co-main and main event was supposed to be Khamzat Chimaev versus Paulo Costa at middleweight, 185. And the main event was supposed to be Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira for the lightweight belt. Charles Oliveira, last round of the last sparring session before he has to fly to Abu Dhabi, gets cut right above his eye. Massive cut. Has to pull out from the fight. Paulo Costa gets an elbow surgery, and the surgery went well in the sense that, like, he could have, like, even despite the surgery, he could have, like, continued for the matchup, for the fight. However, he gets the elbow checked up or something, and then it turns out there's some fucking bacterial infection there, or a risk of bacterial infection. Bam, has to pull out. This was, 2 days ago? And UFC 294 is next weekend. So the UFC are out. There's no opponents for their co-main event or for their main event. So what do? They come in so fucking clutch that it blows your freaking brains out. Because from my perspective, Paulo Costa, Chimaev, Islam Makhachev, Charles Oliveira, that was a very fucking solid card. That was really, really good. Khamzat Chimaev hasn't fought in a long time. Islam Makhachev goes against Oliveira, right? We want to see if Oliveira, it was a fluke the last time, how he got kind of destroyed by Islam Makhachev. Like, what's the deal? So they come in and, man, all right. Co-main event, Khamzat Chimaev is going against Kamaru Usman, former welterweight champion. They fight at 185 at middleweight. So technically the number 1 contender of welterweight against the number 4 welterweight. They go up against each other in middleweight. Much better. I feel like this is going to be really interesting. We haven't seen Kamaru Usman fight at 185. I don't know if ever, but we haven't seen it in a long time. So just less weight cutting is always better. This is the first time we're seeing Khamzat Chimaev fight outside of the welterweight division. So, and we all know what a killer Kamaru Usman is. Regarded as one of the best welterweights of all time, if not the best. They're both wrestlers. They're both grapplers. Now, that's a very good matchup because every time Khamzat Chimaev has gone against a matchup, they're like, oh, well, he's just obviously the better grappler, so he's just going to if he doesn't knock the opponent out with his crazy burst of energy, then he's just going to grapple the crap out of them. right? And that's what he's done. That's what Khamzat Chimaev's done, and he's won every time. Now, Kamaru Usman, very decent striker, very good striker, but he comes from a wrestling background. He's a grappler as well. So this is stylistically a fucking beautiful matchup. Khamzat is still the stronger or the bigger one, but now Kamaru Usman's a little bit more comfortable. He's got 15 more pounds on him to work with, right? Or, in terms of the weight, but like I'm sure he blows up before the fight, right? So grappler versus grappler, let's just see. It's either going to be high level striking, which I don't mind, or it's just going to be high level grappling, which I don't mind. So either way, it's going to be super, super high level. This is like as elite as it gets for around the 185, 170 kind of divisions. Then you go down to 155, and if we're talking about Islam Makhachev, right? A lot of people were doubting Islam Makhachev before he got the belt. And then he got the belt, and then we're like, okay, never mind. He just destroyed Charles Oliveira in 2 fucking rounds. Okay, after Oliveira had defended it more than a few times. So everybody was thinking, oh God, what's going to happen? Like, especially Charles Oliveira out. Who can Islam Makhachev possibly go against that can fight back? And that answer is Alexander the Great Volkanovski. He comes in 12-day notice, takes the fight in Islam Makhachev's home court. Yeah, that's like Abu Dhabi's like the home court for all those Dagestani fellas. And 12-day notice, rematch for the 155 title. That's amazing. Volkanovski, savage. Savage. Islam Makhachev, savage for accepting it. Khamzat Chimaev, savage. Kamaru Usman, savage. The co-main event and the main event, those 4 athletes, they're the definition of having fucking balls. They're the definition of, what their job it kind of entails. They're killers. They're killers, man. And what they did, there's nothing negative you can say about what they just did with taking up these matchups on such short notice. It's nothing short of extraordinary. Like, it's mind-blowing to me. Oh my God, no. I'm going to freak out. And it's in Abu Dhabi too. So it's the main card starts at 9 in the evening for me. Like, you know how fucking amazing that is? And this is just insane. This kicks off this crazy UFC streak that we're going to get till the end of the year, where it's just insanity on top of insanity on top of insane matchups and on top of freaking action. Just fucking, there's nothing funny to say about this. This is just simply, this is what makes UFC great. Seriously, this is what makes UFC great. They can flip the script and somehow the second script is better. Usually when you flip the script, you should have just stuck to the original. But no, they just make it better. Somehow they made this card better on short notice as well. This is happening next week. We're going to go deeper into the matchups next week. But this is your boy, Alexei Pukanikin, balling at what cost. I'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. Love yous.